Hi there. Darn, no recap this time.
That's okay. You can just watch the previous video to figure out where we were. So we are at chapter 20. Oh my goodness. And it's called Volterra, which is an Italian city where the vampires kind of live. Not all the vampires, just the main governmental group.
What with the city is, the story with that is that for the mortals, in Fable there used to live vampires there, but then they got driven out of the city, so they're coming to the city on some kind of
St. Marcus
Day, festival day, where they celebrate the
expulsion of the vampires. We, Alice and Bella, began the steep climb in a car, and the road grew congested. Alice was weaving insanely through the traffic. We slowed to a crawl behind a little tan...
I don't know how to pronounce that.
Pogod? P-O-G-O-D. You know, I obviously have never heard of this car, but Bella has, because she knows what it is. So she probably just knows every car.
And every tree.
So we've determined she knows cars and trees. They come to a gate where no one is being allowed to drive through. Everybody only has to walk through. Alice, I whispered urgently. I know, she said. Her face was chiseled from ice.
Well, she'll probably melt in the sun.
Which is why vampires don't go out of the sun, because they're made of ice. Lots of people are there. Their clothes are billowing red. Red shirts, hats, red flags.
I hope that's foreshadowing of death.
Alice gives Bella directions on how to get to where Edward may or may not reveal himself by ripping off his clothes in the sunlight and being all sparkly and making the public go, ooh. She tells Bella to not get lost.
Good luck.
Yeah, as if Bella never gotten lost in her entire life. She tells her to go to Palazzo dei Priori, which means the clock tower. Edward will be under the clock tower. There's a narrow alleyway on the right, and he'll be in the shadow there. The man at the gate wore a matching uniform, which is a redundant statement, as uniforms generally tend to match.
Why, Smire? Why?
Alice gets pulled over by the guard because she's trying to get through the gate. Only tour buses are allowed today in the city, and she says, it's a private tour. He doesn't fall for it, even though she throws a thick roll of money at him. The outside bill was a $1,000 bill. Is this a joke, he mumbled. Alice's smile was blinding. Only if you think it's funny. He lets Alice through. Alice drove into the city. Well, problem solved there. I guess Bella can get lost now. I was gripping the door handle, ready to throw myself into the street as soon as she spoke the word.
Bird is the word. Well, the bird. Bird is the word.
Alice weaves and weaves and weaves, and then her breath caught suddenly. They're everywhere. Who? I have no idea. It doesn't say. It just says, they're everywhere. Go, Bella, go! Bella starts to go.
Throws herself out of the car.
Paying little attention to anything but the uneven stones beneath my feet. The wind whooshed into me, flinging my hair into my eyes and blinding me farther. It was no wonder that I didn't see the wall of flesh until I'd smacked into it. It doesn't say whose flesh. She just keeps running. So I guess she just smacked into someone and then just kept going. Both hands on the clock pointed up towards the pitiless sun. And though I shoved viciously against the crowd, I knew I was too late. We were all going to die. She comes to a fountain that she needs to run across. It sprayed all around me as I thrashed my way across the pool. Even in the sun, the wind was glacial! Glacial breeze! Glacial breeze! Edward! I screamed, knowing it was useless. But I couldn't stop screaming. The clock starts to toll noon, which is what time Edward was going to step out. A little family of 4 stood nearest to the alley's mouth. The 2 girls wore crimson dresses with matching ribbons. The father wasn't tall.
That's the most random sentence I've ever read.
The father wasn't tall.
The father wasn't tall.
Couldn't you just say that the father was short? Or, it doesn't even matter.
Why, Smire? Why?
Edward, no! I screamed, but my voice was lost in the roar of the chime. I could see him now, and I could see that he could not see me. It was really him. No hallucination this time. And I realized that my delusions were more flawed than I realized. They'd never done him justice.
Hold on a sec.
I'd never seen anything more beautiful. Even as I ran, gasping and screaming, I could appreciate that. And the last 7 months meant nothing, and his words in the forest meant nothing. And it did not matter if he did not want me. I would never want anything but him.
Doesn't matter what he wants. Well then.
No, I screamed. Edward, look at me. He wasn't listening.
No, I refuse.
I slammed into him so hard that the force would have hurled me to the ground if his arms hadn't caught me. Amazing, he said. Carlisle was right. About what? Edward, you've got to get back into the shadows. You have to move. He seemed bemused.
He seemed bemused.
But was he? It was very strange, for I knew we were both in mortal danger. Well, he's not, because he's not mortal. Just Bella's in mortal danger. He's in immortal danger.
Immortal danger.
Still in that instant, I felt well, whole. I could feel my heart racing in my chest, the blood pulsing hot and fast through my veins again. Probably because you just ran halfway across a town. It was like there had never been any hole in my chest. I was perfect. The clock boomed out its final chime. You smell just exactly the same as always, he went on. So maybe this is hell.
Burn!
I'm not dead, I interrupted. And neither are you. Please, Edward, we have to move. What was that? He asked politely. We're not dead! Not yet! Comprehension flickered on his face as I spoke. I peeked under his arm to see 2 dark shapes detach themselves from the gloom. Greetings, gentlemen. Edward's voice was calm and pleasant on the surface. I don't think I'll be requiring your services today. He's talking to 2 of the Volturi guys who were going to kill him if he exposed himself. And they invite him to take this conversation to a more appropriate venue. So Edward suggests to Bella, well, why don't you enjoy the festival and I'll go with these vampire dudes.
No, she'll get lost.
She will get lost, but they say no, bring the girl. As Edward is arguing with the 2 Volturi guys who are named Felix and Dimitri, Alice shows up. And a girl named Jane shows up as well.
And they're all very scared of her.
They're all very scared of her. Jane says, follow me. And everybody just follows her. Alice begins to explain to Edward how Bella's not dead. What happened? It's a long story, Alice says. In summary, she did jump off a cliff, but she wasn't trying to kill herself. Bella's all about extreme sports these days. Ultimate Frisbee. They continue to walk, and they enter a drain sunk into the lowest point of the pavement.
Wait, did they just go in the sewers?
I think so.
Are the Volturi the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
They all enter into this tunnel. The light from the hole above provided a faint glow, reflecting wetly from the stones under my feet.
Is wetly a word?
How can light reflect wetly?
Why, Smire? Why?
The light vanished for a second, and then Edward was a faint white radiance beside me. I wrapped both my arms around his cold waist and tripped and stumbled my way across the uneven stone surface. I guess you stopped looking at the uneven stone surface you were walking on.
We did establish that if she just, trips really fast, she can run with the vampires.
For now, it felt like he wanted me, and that was enough to offset the horror of the subterranean tunnel and the prowling vampires behind us.
Woo! Wow!
Oh my god.
This is not true love.
At least I could be with him again before I died. That was better than a long life.
Good!
Only Edward's hand kept me from screaming out loud. It wasn't until my teeth started chattering together that I realized I was cold. My clothes were still wet, and the temperature underneath the city was wintry.
Not glacial.
Not glacial. And they get to a big room. That's it. They get to a big room. That's how the chapter ends. I don't know anything about this room. I just know it's a big room.
Big cold room.
Big cold room. Recap of this chapter. Bella runs halfway across an Italian city and stops Edward from revealing himself.
Sparkle, sparkle.
And then a couple of Volturi people come over once Bella has shoved Edward out of the way and start to take Bella, Edward, and Alice to... We don't know where they're going. We just know that they go through sewers and end up in this big room. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!